Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we're taking a look at Silent Hill 2, the remake. So they remade Silent Hill 2 apparently, which is a strange one considering that we had a remaster of Silent Hill 2, but we've not really had any remakes of Silent Hill 1. I suppose you could count Shattered Memories maybe, but that was so very different that I'm not sure you can. Now, before this came out, there were a few red flags about it. The first being Konami putting out a message saying it's being remade for a modern audience, which, if you've been paying attention, when they say that, means it's not for you. It's for the people on Twitter that complain loudest and then don't bother buying our product or watching our series or going to see our films. That's who they make stuff for when they say modern audiences. They did delete that, and I'm happy to say for the most part it's not been ruined by the taint of modern day audiences. It is pretty damn close to the original Silent Hill 2. I'll let you know where I'm coming from. I've played the original Silent Hill 2. I finished the remake Silent Hill 2 on PS3, and now I'm playing this, obviously. So, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the HD remake. I know a lot of people did because they changed up voice actors and shit like that, and they were... I mean, there is a dedication to the original, and, you know, it's never been something I've loved. I've liked it. I've always been more of a Resident Evil kind of guy than a Silent Hill kind of guy, but you know, that hasn't stopped me from playing damn near all of them. So there you go.
You promised you'd take me
but I don't have that emotional attachment to the original. I mean, I never even finished it. I got to the apartments in there and pieced out, just because the apartments dragged on, and we'll get into that in a bit. So that's where I'm coming from. I finished it. My wife has also finished it. It's one of the few games that she's actually finished with me. So there you go. I find it interesting that they're doing Silent Hill 2. I mean, I know it's the most fondly remembered of the series, so that's probably why there's probably more money in doing a Silent Hill 2 remake than there would be in maybe remaking Silent Hill 1.
My wife's name.
Although I would have... To be honest, I kind of prefer Silent Hill 1, even in its PlayStation 1 jankiness. Silent Hill's Shattered Memories, I was only able to play recently because getting a hold of that sucker is expensive.
Years ago.
Not like disastrously so, but it's still a lot. And I kind of wanted to play the Wii version, but I don't have a Wii, so there you go. So Silent Hill 2, it's made by Bloober Team, who you may remember as having done the Blair Witch game and Medium. The Blair Witch game was actually pretty damn good. I don't think I've covered it on the channel.
Really alive?
I've not finished it, but I have played it. And Medium, I did a let's play of that on the channel, and to be honest, I lost interest in it relatively quickly after finishing the let's play. But I think they've done a good job here. Not a perfect job. There are things that I would change, but certainly a good job. The game itself is longer by either a third. Well, I mean, it depends on how you're playing it. There's a lot of window smashing going on, and they've opened up some areas that weren't available in the original game, so you can go in some light shops and stuff like that that weren't available to be gone into. So they've kind of expanded the game. That includes the levels as well. They take longer, which means the apartments, yeah, that lasts a long time now, as does the hospital. So, I mean, I pieced out on the apartments in the original because it was just taking so damn long, and it takes even longer now, so, yeah, factor that in. Graphically, it looks good. My performance was initially awful. I'd be playing it, and it would, like, really badly stutter every few seconds. But a quick Google and learning that VSync is causing it for some reason, I turned the in-game VSync off, forced it in the NVIDIA app, and it's fine. And I'm getting low 60s to high 70s on general. Obviously, depending on what's going on, that will change a little bit. But I don't have any problems with the performance. I know a lot of people have had problems with the performance, but I haven't come across it, so I'm not going to be weighting it in my review, obviously. I will go out of my way and mention the sound design. The sound design is spectacular in this game. It's not something I really... Sorry, just had to check. I thought for a horrible minute I hadn't pressed record, but I have, so we're good. Sound design is something I don't usually talk about in games. It's just... I think usually sound design is just like the carpet. Like, you only notice it when it's not there. It's just, you know, if it's doing its job, it should just complement what's going on. It shouldn't, like, take away from it. But in this game, I really have to mention it, because when you're walking along, I mean, I'm running... If I had, like, directional earphones on, it would be freaking amazing and also freaky. But even with like a 2.1 setup, which, you know, the base and two tweeters, or whatever they're bloody called, two satellites, I don't know. I'm not an audiophile. But with my sort of speakers that I use for my PC, certainly I was getting I was locating stuff around me by sound, and that's just having like two speakers like either side of me and a bass. But they woofers? I don't know. Sub. Is it sub? There might be a sub. So it's really well done. The sound itself, just, you can hear things, and it's constantly got your head on a swivel, because you're looking around and you're hearing stuff coming from your right, but you can't see anything. Is it behind that fence over there? I don't know, I can't get through it. I hope nothing comes through it. That sort of thing. And when the wind gets up, you can hear leaves blowing around. It's absolutely phenomenal. So hats off for the sound design. The graphics are on the Unreal Engine 5. And they look pretty bloody good, in fairness. I mean, you can always, you know, pick and like push your face up against textures to like try and pick it apart, and you will do it with any game. But overall, I think it looks good. The Otherworld also is very evocative of that. It's dull, it's dingy, it's rusted. It's the Otherworld that you've come to know.
I'm sorry, it's not your
So.
problem.
You know, no complaints on a visual or audio standpoint at all. Very good all round. The combat is still janky, but I mean, that's kind of the point, isn't it? James is not an action hero. He's not a Leon Kennedy or a Chris Redfield. He is, you know, James Sunderland, and he's got like a plank. He's gonna bop you with it and then step on you, and that's James Sunderland. But it is a little bit better than the original. There's no stamina meter anymore, and you do have a dodge button, which is nice. It can be argued it does make the combat a little bit easy, because a lot of the attacks are quite telegraphed, so you can dodge out the way nice and, you know, not in good time. The Nereses have a few different attacks. There's like a couple of quick ones and a heavy one, and if you dodge the heavy one like you would a quick one, you're probably going to get hit by it, and vice versa. So, you know, there's a little bit more to them, but they've always been sort of more combat orientated than just like the mannequins and stuff like that. The content of the game remains largely unchanged. They have amended a few bits and pieces and pared down some stuff which I guess nowadays would be considered problematic, like pyramid head canoodling with two of the mannequin creatures in the kitchen. He's only with one, and he's just like wrestling with its legs. There's no real... if you hadn't played the first game, you might not know what's going on, but if you have, you're like, yep, okay, that's that bit. It's not egregiously muted or anything like that, but it is sort of... It's more obtuse now as to what he's up to, and the bit where he's holding one of the what they call the bound. I think they're called the bound. Their heads to his crotch. That's gone. In fact, that entire fight scene takes place somewhere entirely different. Speaking of things taking place entirely differently, I remembered from when I played it, which was many years ago, that I got the plank by going into like a half-finished tunnel, and a bound coming up behind me and like pulling the plank off the siding and beating it to death. So when I reached Silent Hill, I was like, hang on, I should have had the plank by now. And I remembered the sort of half-finished tunnel, but I couldn't find anything. I'm like, shit, I must have missed it. So I ran all the way back, got there, nothing. Because when I originally went up to it, it did like this glimpse from the past kind of thing, where you've got like things that happen in the previous games. You'll just have a little interaction which will just sort of focus in on it, and then that'll be it. And it's just like saying, oh, hey, yeah, we knew there's something here, but it's not here anymore. Weird. And it was one of those. And you actually get the plank like inside a house when you fight your first bound. So that annoyed me a little bit, in the fact that I had to run all the way bloody back, only to be proven wrong, because who likes being proven wrong, right? They had actually moved it. For instance, the first fight that you have appeared is no longer in that little sort of square room. It's actually in quite a large area with stuff to like hide behind and block him off with. So it is easier from that standpoint. I mean, the first one wasn't particularly difficult anyway. I mean, he swings a giant sword. The wind-up on that sucker is pretty atrocious. But, I mean, from a storyline perspective, it follows all of the regular beats. There are, like, minor changes, but they're very minimal. If I hadn't researched it after the fact, I wouldn't have been aware of any, to be honest with you, because if I was like an expert on the original and had like repeatedly completed it like a dozen or so times, something like that, then I would be able to go, no, that's wrong, this is different, that's good, that's changed. But I'm not, so it worked for me, which I think is generally the only thing I could say, really. I mean, I can't go back and change my gaming past so it doesn't or does. It's just I'm taking it as I am. They have changed Mary's outfit. Not Maria's, God's sakes. Yes, I know, they're very confusing. Maria's outfit has been changed slightly, so she doesn't have like a bare midriff. To be fair, though, I find the new outfit perfectly sexy. I mean, there's a bit more cleavage, and they've moved the butterfly tattoo from her tummy to sort of like her cleavage, which is a bit more enticing for me. So, I don't think it's been sanitized in the way that some people say it has. I mean, yes, less skin is on display, but I find it sexier. Maria, she's grown on me. At first I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But like as sort of I've gotten used to her appearance and going on, she is more attractive as the game progresses, at least to me. And you know what a horn dog I am, so take that with a pinch of salt. There are 2 more endings in the game. I've only gone through and finished it once, but yep, there are 2 more ones. I won't mention any ending spoilers or anything like that, because you either know about them because they were in the old game, or you will not know about them because you haven't finished it and you haven't seen the new ones or haven't read about the new ones. But you can easily look that up. That's not a problem. A lot of the levels have been expanded. There are a couple that are very similar, like the hotel is one that's very similar. The apartments have been expanded. The hospital has been expanded. Which, to be fair, they are caught kind of between a rock and a hard place. I mean, those 2 areas were very much the meat of the game in the terms of the time that you spend playing it. They both took a long time to go through, and even more so now. But then again, if they turned in a game that like you could finish in like 8 to 9 hours, people could complain, because people want value for money, and in their opinion, like having a shorter game that is still good is not value for money. They would rather have a game that lasts like 15 hours rather than 9.
Hey.
Which I don't get. I mean, I think the game would have been better if they hadn't expanded some of those things. There's quite a few different puzzles in it, some of which I remembered, some of which I didn't remember. Like, I think there's one in a cafe early on. I can't remember the name of it. It's like, is it Neely's Bar? I think it's Neely's Bar. That's you fixing a jukebox. I don't remember that. I mean, I could be wrong, because I am basing it on several-year-old memories. But I don't remember that being in the first one, and you need to like fix a record and put it in, and it plays, and it triggers a flashback, and it's all the stuff that you would expect from Silent Hill. It's It just goes about it slightly differently, but it always picks up the story beat, so you still have like the boss fights are all still there. Some have been changed, like in Angela's room with the holes. There's nothing sort of pumping in and out the holes anymore. I don't know whether that was a decision to like try and desexualize that and like remove the indicator of her potential abuse from her father, or just that they didn't remember there was pulsy bits inside the holes and just made the holes. I mean, outside of that, it looks the same, but there's just no pumping going on. I mean, Silent Hill 2 has always been a very sexual game, and the fact that, you know, it's created from James and, you know, his repressed sexuality and guilt. So this is why you have the sexy nurses. I mean, it all ties in, but of course, because they were popular, because they were sexy nurses, well, kind of sexy nurses anyway, they showed up repeatedly in games going forward, and when there's really no reason for them to be there, because, you know, it's very thematic to James. But, you know, I mean, you can't blame them. I mean, people like sexy nurses. You're going to put sexy nurses in the game and try and like say, hey, there's sexy nurses in the game. You like the sexy nurses, buy the game. And that works most of the time. So I kind of feel like, yeah, I'll let that one slip because I do indeed like sexy nurses. But thematically, it does make sense for it to be in this game rather than any of the others. So Silent Hill 2 Remake. It's actually a bloody good remake. If you haven't played Silent Hill 2 before, I would say this is the version to play. Certainly if you think like PS2 games are looking a bit meh now, which, you know, a lot of people do. I mean, you can upscale and emulate it like I do, but at the end of the day, you're still playing a PS2 game. You know, there's a certain amounts of upscaling, and that can be done. I mean, you've only got the graphics that are there. So I would say, yep, if you've never played it before, this is the one to go for. If you are a devotee of the original, you might have more to find wrong with it than I do. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I would probably be in the same boat if I was, you know, as entrenched in Silent Hill 2 as other people may be. And for people in the middle, which I think is me, I think it's, you know, it's fine. It's well done. It looks nice. The audio design's fantastic. It doesn't piss all over the original's memory, I don't think. I mean, they've changed a few bits, which a lot of people will be, you know, perhaps overly sensitive to because of their familiarity with the initial game. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. If it was something I loved, then and they changed it just a little bit, then I would still be like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. So I get it, but at the end of the day, I don't have that intense a connection with the original game. So as far as I'm concerned, it's perfectly fine, unobtrusive. It hasn't been wokeified despite Konami's original, perhaps misguided messaging that it was for modern audiences. I didn't get very much of that here at all. And yes, you could say that some of the removal of the sexuality in certain scenes would point to that, but I don't know. That's the weird thing about wokeness, isn't it? It's like, yes, we must censor and certify and all this crap, but it's also like, yeah, free love, fuck around. It's like, I don't know whether it's supposed to be overly sexualized or not. It breaks my head. I try to understand that, which is why I don't usually bother, and I'll just call a spade when I see it. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.